I had to memorize some really long ones for this show, so, Let's see. Ah, yes, all right, one of my favorites. The Fisherman. We do have a fisherman in our midst.
Joe Martinelli.
I think Gene, we're supposed to have another fisherman here too. Joe, fisherman back there. Though the poem's not really that much about fishermen, but Joe and I do share some health issues going back 6 years ago. We were doing our Men of Spirit initiation, and that's when I had my appendix out, and it was full of Burkitt's lymphoma, which was really lucky for me that my appendix decided to take all that lymphoma in, because I was okay after I did some chemotherapy. And then Joe went and had a heart attack during that initiation, so it was pretty intense. So we both turned 60, and we are very happy to still be alive.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
This kind of leads into a set of Irish history poems. There's a lot of Irish history. And one thing about Yeats, he hated the Irish middle class back in like the early 1900s. I mean, maybe they were a little bit kind of like the Tea Party of today, something like that. He thought they just had lost all their deep values, you know, of the old culture, you know, and they were just kind of taking on these superficial values, and they were kind of very bigoted. But anyway, there's a little bit about that in this poem. In fact, there's a line where it says, "Great art beaten down," and he's referring to these riots at the Abbey Theater when they were doing a play called Playboy of the Western World by his friend John Synge, which was kind of a really deeply rooted in the Irish, kind of rooted in how the peasants still lived in the culture, but the middle class people, they just didn't understand the like, whatever, the humor of it, or the deep roots of it, you know. Like they thought that indecent comments were being made about Irish people or something, but that wasn't really what was going on. So the fisherman. Although I can see him still, a freckled man who goes to a grey place on a hill, in grey Connemara clothes at dawn to cast his flies. It's long since I began to call up to the eyes this wise and simple man. All day I'd looked in the face of what I'd hoped would be to write for my own race in the reality. The living men that I hate, the dead man that I loved, the insolent, the craven man in his seat, the insolent, unreproved, and no knave brought to book who has won a drunken cheer, the witty man in his joke aimed at the commonest ear, the clever man who cries the catch cries of the clown, the beating down of the wise and great art beaten down. Maybe a 12-month since, suddenly I began, in scorn of this audience, remembering a man, and his sun-freckled face and grey Connemara cloth, climbing up to a place where stone is dark under froth, and the down turn of his wrist as the flies drop in the stream. A man who does not exist, a man who is but a dream, and cried, before I am old I shall have written him one poem, maybe as cold and passionate as the dawn.